This new video. Today we're learning about Python functions. But what is a function? Um, the real definition of a function is a block of code which runs once you call it. So yeah, it is actually a function holds a block of code and you can call that function. But when do we use functions? You can use it to have when you have a large block of code and you want to call that or run that 3 or more times or anytime, you can use functions to easily do that. It's also easier to maintain. I give a game as example. If you have this whole while loop of your game and you have an error, yeah, you don't know where the error is. So if you put it in different kinds of functions and different blocks, you know exactly where the error is and easier to fix it. A third one, code readability. Yeah, if you work in a company, you want that your coworkers can understand what your code does, and functions keep your code organized. Now let's dive into an actual function. This is a simple function, the most simple function you'll see. It starts with our keyword def. Then you can put on a name of your function, followed by round brackets and a colon. Here you have your function, your body of your code. Sorry, body of your function, and it is real simple here. It's just a print hello world. But you can do everything in here. A while loop, a for loop, everything. Now, this is just assigning a function, right? We're not yet calling it. So, remember this function. Now we move on to another. We use our keyword def, our name add, and then the body of the function, print 2 plus 3, but then we're going to call our function. And you just call our function by typing the name of the function. And this does whatever the body does. So our body says we're going to print 2 plus 3. So by calling, we're going to do print 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. But then, so yeah, that is calling the function. But then what if you want to print out a variable outside of our function? Then you will need to use parameters. This is where functions get pretty hard, but you will be able to do this. We're going to do the same, but this is actually sort of a variable that you will assign once you call it. So hang on here. We're going to have two sort of variables that we will use in our function, num1 and num2. And we're going to the first number plus the second number. But we don't know which number it is. But we're going to assign it once we call it. And these assignments are called arguments. Every parameter needs an argument. Here we didn't have a parameter, so we didn't need an argument. The first parameter will be linked to the first argument and the second parameter to the second argument. So I hope you understand it. We need parameters for a sort of information that we don't have, but then we can get that information once we call it. So this is an easy thing because I just say 2 and 3, but this also can be a variable like speed or the certain position of a character in a game. And that's how you use these parameters, by actually a sort of variable. Um, but let's just repeat this in an exercise. Exercise, we're just going to create a function and print out toppings for a pizza. So this seems quite overwhelming, but we're just going to get a variable that takes the inputs of toppings and then create a function that outputs or prints that topping. Like I said in the previous page, that we need to use parameters to get a variable. So that topping needs a variable and a parameter. Pause the video if you want to do it yourself. I'm going to the solution. 3, 2, 1. Here is my solution. You have, of course, multiple solutions, but I made my variable toppings, put an input to it, and then my function. It has one argument and prints your pizza has, and then that argument, that parameter, sorry, one parameter, and then prints that parameter. Now this parameter needs to be linked to this input, and we're just doing it by assigning, or just putting this as our argument. So this will be linked to this. So if in this input I say I want olives on my pizza, then your pizza has olives. I hope you get it. If you don't, you can always send the comments what you don't understand. Now, an important part of functions is the return statement. This is not required, yet pretty useful, and also pretty most used, sorry. It's used to end a function, end the body of a function, and then sends a result, a value, onto our function, or back to the call, also called. So here I have my function from before, but then I set a variable result onto our num1 plus num2, and then return that result onto our function. Why not return num1 plus num2? That is not possible. Yeah, you can only return a variable. So that's that. And then of course you need to print our result. Our result is actually add, because this will be sent to the function. So we do need to print it. So let's wrap our head around this. Okay. Num1 is 2 and num2 is 3. Result equals 2 plus 3. Return result. So return 5 onto this. So print 5. Do you get me? Do you get my thinking? Now, why shouldn't I actually do print num1 plus num2? That's a very good question. That is a good question, and we're going to see this in the code. Let's go. Now we're going to make a calculator using a function and our return statement. I got my 3 inputs here, our operator, our first number, and our second number. If you know the solution yourself, be sure to pause the video and try it yourself in your own editor. For the solution, of course, we're going to start with our keyword def, and then a name. Let's call this one calculator, round brackets, and a colon. Now we have three variables here that we need to use in our function. So we need to have three parameters. Let's just call this the same. This can cause for a bit of confusion, but it's just the way coders do it, because at the end they will have the same value. Now now I'm going to make an if statement, an if operator equals plus. If operator equals plus, we're going to add, and how I'm going to do it is I'm going to make, such like in the examples, a variable result 1 plus num2. And then you probably see what is coming. I'm going to use my return statement and return my results onto my calculator, and that is how I made a function, and it is in a couple of rules. Now to finish it off, we're going to print our statement and three parameters, or operator num1 and then num2, and this should work. Let's see. Plus 2 second number 3 23. Oof, what did we do wrong here? I know my fault, but an input statement returns a string. So num1 is a string, you can see it here, and num2 is a string. And if you add a string onto a string, you're just going to get 23. In my last video, I talked about data types and also how to convert data types. So how to convert a data type into an integer, we can use int, and this should turn this string into an integer, and our little mistake would be better. Let's see. Yes, let's go. Okay, that's great. Okay, so of course we only made plus, but it is just the same for minus and the other ones. So this is how you do it. Just a simple example of when you could use this your return statement. Sorry. And I think that was the basics for functions. If you would like to have more advanced or a question, you could always ask something in the comments. Thank you for watching. Yeah, like and subscribe. Bye.